You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
Hi, I am Ahonu, and on behalf of my lovely Aingeal Rose, welcome to this session of the World of Empowerment podcast. Over the last several weeks, longer, but particularly the last few weeks, it has been our experience that there's been a rise of freedom in people, a rise of the growth of awareness, a rise of the growth of, let's call it, global awakening. And it's coming from lots of different quarters. Now, in my capacity as webmaster of the Arlington Institute, we had the pleasure of hosting Greg Braden for a weekend workshop. And without giving too much detail about that, because it was a paid one-day event, but he was launching his new book called The New Human. And many people are talking about the same thing in lots of different ways. But I want to draw attention to another email that we received from a longtime friend of ours in the virtual space called Kacper. And Kacper has been one to watch in terms of how his unfolding, he's documented his unfolding effectively. And he moved from his home place to Vilcabamba in Ecuador. And there was a lot of growth of awareness and a lot of increase in frequency. And here's his latest. He is happy for this to be shared. So it is a 15-minute read. So bear with me, because it does spell out how he came to these awarenesses. And I do feel it will spark the same kind of things in many people around the world. So it begins with his title called Born to be Wild, the secret locked in your DNA and the Great Deprogramming of Humanity. So it starts with a little bit of a background, but then it goes into his own personal experiences. As a child, I would intuitively stare right into the center of the sun during the sunset hours and feel a thumping activation in my heart, telling me something I couldn't articulate. I just knew that something was off about the reality that was being presented to me. Keep your head down, pass the test, do what you're told, do the 9 to 5, pay your taxes, suffer, go to college, buy a house, save for retirement, plan for death, and die. I just didn't buy it. Isn't there more to this? Isn't this supposed to be wonderful? Isn't this supposed to feel alive, magical, playful, easeful, and filled with wonder? Then a voice deep down inside said, there is another way to live that is more natural, intrinsically whole, easier, healthier, powerful, free, and cosmically connected. Deep down inside, I sensed a primordial way of being was available to me and everyone else. Yet, for some odd reason, I couldn't access it, as if it was locked in my bones behind a vault. I felt as if it was programmed out of us. At the very least, I knew it was programmed out of me. I craved the path of the authentic human being. I had no idea what it was, but I knew I wanted it above everything else. And as my life progressed, this became my only central point of focus in all aspects of life. Call it a divine obsession. In the beginning, it looked more like a rebellion. My rebellion was against teachers, society, collective conditioning, the government, and authority. So I moved out to nature in the Andean mountains of South America. I dated only hippie women. I built businesses that shared disruptive technologies with the world. I surrounded myself with people who, like me, questioned the bedrock of reality on a daily occasion. It was an awesome upgrade. However, as my spiritual awakening unraveled, something deeper grabbed me. Even though I had changed my scenery and was living life outside the box, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still in a cage of my own making. Something just didn't feel right. It felt as if there was a lid on top of me holding me back, an invisible parking brake, an internal governor that said, you can only be this awesome. Beyond this red line, we're reeling you back in. It was as if there was an invisible hand emerging from the depths of me to pull me back down to a manageable baseline. Like that annoying teacher that yells at you and tells you not to climb the tree just as you and your friends start to have fun. Except it's something inside of you. Maybe you know the feeling. There was something massive in me that wanted to be free. I don't know much, but I knew I was willing to do whatever it took to punch through the mask of my ego and come back to it, to find it within my DNA and unlock it. Gradually, my rebellion turned inwards. I began to rebel against my own ignorance. I got scientific about it. I put myself on the operating table and I asked Spirit to guide me, and guide me it did. Life got wild. I went for days without food or water, broke through belief systems, and didn't die. I started to heal my own traumas and understand how the nervous system actually worked. I got curious about the suppression of sexual energy, tantra, and started to liberate myself from deep religious and ancestral conditioning. I went through a deep Bufo initiation in Peru that led me to face my own death hundreds of times and learn things about the nature of reality that I can't begin to verbalize. I let go of all sense, logic, and pursued my wildest callings, even if I had an empty bank account. Somehow, money just followed me no matter what I did. Interesting. I spent a couple of years studying the work of absolute masters in the field of transmutation. The human heart and the body is much more than we think. Its real powers lie dormant inside of us, and what I learned unlocked a completely new energy in my life. That's when the internal governor really began to shake loose. I moved through lifetimes of layers of fear-based conditioning and trauma in a relatively short space of time. The colours in life began to turn on. I started to move in a new way, more fearlessly than before. This was different, and it took a while to integrate. All my previous motivations and aspirations melted away, and slowly a new guiding force began to emerge. In the process, I discovered that the human heart and the body is a transmuter of energy, meaning your heart can receive a distorted energy field and turn it into a coherent energy field. Now, at this point, Kacper gives a link to his short film called Metamorphosis for a better intro to that particular topic. I discovered that there's a natural primordial state. Your body is designed for it. Let's call it thriving. In this state, the body and mind will automatically heal itself from any disease and open to a coherent flow of energy. At this point, he makes a quotation from Dr. Kim Deramo, who's the author of Mind Body Toolkit and Be Your Own Healer. She says, thriving is living in full vitality when your body heals itself and you're supported in a fulfilled, enriched life. You express your natural gifts, strengths and talents and experience your value in the world. There's harmony and purpose in your life, in your relationships and your work. This is your truth. The body is always trying to return to this state. I learned how to transmute deep levels of fear, return to this state, attune the body and consciousness to it, and I began assisting others with this skill. The results in my own life and with others have been extraordinary. Extra lifelong traumas are sometimes healed in minutes. Massive programs of limitation, fear and scarcity uplifted, heart conditions rapidly reversed. People remember who they are, start doing what they were born to do, and start living the lives they always dreamed of. And as I went deeper, I began to see that my childhood intuitions were eerily accurate. One might ask, if there is this natural thriving state, what keeps us from it? Answer: programming. The programs of disconnection, lack, scarcity, fear, self-suppression, obedience, dominance, and control are literally that programs. My esoteric research of Sylvie Olivier's work to learn they actually sit at the base of the skull and alter your biochemistry and perception of reality. I didn't believe it at first, but as my work with others unfolded, as soon as I assisted someone in transmuting deep limiting programs, two things often happened. One, people sometimes feel heat and vibration in their body and in their head. I had people hold the base of their skull, saying they feel movement and pressure there as energy moves. Two, people's lives shift in massive ways. Abundance flows in, ease of life propagates, the body heals itself, self-actualization accelerates. So I actually looked into the brain, and lo and behold, that part of the brain is actually housing the occipital lobe with close proximity to the cerebellum and brainstem. It's the part of the brain that's responsible for decoding your sense perception and projecting your 3D reality and how you move in it. If there was a perfect place to house a governor for someone's reality, that would be it. The dots began to connect. I knew I was onto something. But if we are full of self-limiting programs, one begs to ask the question, who put them there? Are our limiting programs simply the result of trauma and developmental environment, or is there more to this puzzle? Buckle your seatbelts. The Sumerian Tablets are the oldest written text in the world. I've often heard of them but never believed or bothered to do the research until I did, and my jaw dropped open. They tell a tale of humanity that not many are ready to hear, chronologically depicting historical events on our planet as far back as 432,000 years ago. Let that sink in. When people started translating them, the translations quickly began to disappear. Translations were sworn to secrecy for years, and the translations and the tablets were compartmentalized and still are to this day. The information inside them upsets too many apple carts. Recently, the translations are slowly coming out. The point I found particularly interesting was how they literally, word for word, spell out how almost 500,000 years ago, extraterrestrial humanoid giants from different points of our galaxy came down to Earth to mine gold and mixed their DNA with an early form of being on this planet to create a slave race to assist them, Homo sapien, aka us. It's all in there. If you don't believe me, start doing your own research. This will blow your mind. They spell everything out, A to Z, including how these ancient rulers, sun gods, lived for thousands of years and augmented their DNA to create what we know as human beings. How this ancient civilization had access to spacefaring technology and built spaceports on Earth and even Mars. How the first human beings were lab engineered and housed in an enclosure called Eden. How they created the religions, aka programs, that we have today to control humanity and instill obedience, and how our DNA was altered to shorten our lifespans. Today, we know that 98% of our DNA is dormant, aka junk DNA. This isn't by accident. The tablets depict how humanity has been programmed since inception to serve the gods in fear of punishment if they do not obey. They tell of how the Great Flood was geoengineered 50,000 to 70,000 years ago, how humanity evolved, who built the monolithic structures on our planet, and why. Why am I sharing all of this? Well, first, I'm willing to bet it sure as hell has just made your Sunday more interesting. Secondly, as I sit here today, looking back through all my research, my life experience, and my work with individuals, I've come to some inescapable conclusions. 1. Human beings have been programmed for slavery for millennia. Our consciousness has been suppressed. 2. A powerful and vastly intelligent and hyper-advanced civilization existed on Earth long before our recorded history. 3. We are at the tipping point of a massive collective shift in consciousness on our planet. We are waking up out of a collective amnesia, and you won't see it on the news. So for the purpose of this article, I'm going to hone in on 1 and 3. We have been mental slaves for millennia. It's all we know. The prison, the control system, is within your own mind-body matrix, and it is masterful in its design. It's designed to get you to obey, externalize your power, willfully give it away, and create structures that support your disempowerment. Why create a prison to control people when you can simply imprint a program and get people to imprison themselves? Why put people in chains when you can have people willfully obey and replicate obedience in their offspring? If you forgive me for quoting myself from an earlier article called "The Giant Must Wake Up," it is a brilliant control mechanism that turns even the strongest hero into a willing slave in a prison in which he is the inmate, the key holder, the prison cell, the guard, and the prosecutor. At its foundation, the program is designed around one central fulcrum: to get human beings to externalize authority and project their connection to source outwardly, thus giving your power away to the point that your will willfully enforces your right and duty to do so. At this point, Kacper gives a reference to a book that he says, if you want a life-changing, mind-bending book that depicts this core programming in its totality, read The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larkin Rose. It's a book that will alter your view of reality like nothing else. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And when you look outwards in your life and in the world, the evidence for this prison is everywhere. In our families, communities, healthcare systems, our financial institutions, our education systems. And if we point fingers, we can easily blame human stupidity, demons, entities, Satan, the government, the deep state, the cabal, or maybe, more probably now, even aliens. But the truth, as I see it, is that it's literally inside of us. We have been creating it. We have been doing it to ourselves. We've been outwardly self-replicating the only thing that we know: separation, subjugation, and slavery. And everything that comes with it: scarcity, lack, fear, disease, disconnection, closure, division, and war. We've been programmed in ways to distort our natural state. Our consciousness has been suppressed, and that's just the base program. On top of that, we are currently being messed with and conditioned and socio-engineered in ways we cannot even fathom. We've been fed programs through schools, movies, the media, and religion that sell a reality that simply isn't aligned with our natural state and doesn't lend to a happy, healthy, and empowered life. Mind control isn't a theory. It's an open source practice. And that's where I get excited, because I used to, like most people, buy into the doom and gloom of it all. But as of late, after my experiences, I've realized all of this programming is just programming. It's powerful, and it's pathetic. It's only a thought form combined with crystallized emotional composites. It can be dissolved rapidly in the sanctity of your own heart. I do it on a routine basis, and the results are wild. You can take an individual and in a very short time free them with the technology of your own mind, body, and heart. DNA can be switched on and off. Your consciousness is the key. It's so easy, you'll laugh when you actually start to see it. It's a cosmic joke. Anyone can be free. The key is right inside of you. And if a 5-year-old boy staring into the sun could figure it out in half a lifetime, then imagine what else is possible when more people figure it out. And many are. I believe we are at the precipice of a mass awakening event of biblical proportions. That's the work I'm doing and why I do it. Awareness is the first step to any healing. Everything returns to its source. There is a primordial way of being, and we are all returning to it. I believe the mass deprogramming of our consciousness is the greatest challenge and opportunity before us today. My point in this whole article is this. If in your heart you feel a similar calling to mine, if your path has led you through a similar journey of awakening, and you've been able to return to some semblance of a natural and wholesome life in this crazy world, you likely are overlooking how valuable you are. If you know how to actually live harmoniously with your spouse and children and create art and harmony and beauty around you, if you know how to have a sane and loving relationship and meaningful friendships, or effortlessly stay healthy and heal disease, or connect to your creativity and intuition and live life on your own terms, if you know how to live sustainably with nature and how to actually bring up children into healthy and free-thinking adults, turn your passions into a way of life, if you have any skill that is creative that brings joy to people's lives, or know how to heal trauma, if you can assist birthing children naturally, if you know how to be a parent and stay sane, if you have deep esoteric knowledge or spiritual wisdom that holds keys to a more expansive existence, if you've been through a major ordeal and dark night of the soul that has caused you to change your life for the better, or if you have mastered any area of life whereby you now have peace and abundance in an area where others normally struggle, or if you've been through the massive pain in your life because you believed in mass conditioning and then went your own way, or you've been suicidal but actually want to live now, or you're passionate about anything and actually enjoy life. If you could say yes to any of these things, do you have any idea how valuable you are? 99.99% of people on this planet do not know how to do any of these things. 99.9% of people are living lives with programming being piped into them 24/7, wondering why their lives aren't working, silently begging for someone to come and shake them out of their trance with your presence. People are dying to hear you speak, to hear you share what you have to share. If you're not already, then why are you not sharing your gift and leaning into it fully? I'll tell you, you're likely hiding, like I was for years. And I'm writing this article in hopes that it hits you upside the head like a spiritual alarm clock. It's time to wake up and do what you've come here to do. What else are you going to do? You know your soul has been asking you to stand up, to speak, share your message, and assist others during this process. Do you think you need a special skill or a certificate from an external governing body so you're finally ready to go out there and do it? Most people do, by the way. It's a very clever, controlled program. You are brilliant. You are ready. The authority is already inside of you. You were born to be wild. You've known it in your bones your entire life. You've lived in a world that has tried to suppress and oppress you your entire life, and none of it has been able to shake the foundation of your being. You're still out there dancing, singing, loving this life, and laughing at it because you know it's a cosmic joke. That is strength, and that is power. People like you sharing with others how to come back to themselves is the future of education on our planet. To do this, you don't need a product, you don't need a niche, a marketing funnel, or any of that crap you think you might need. You need your voice and your willingness to just sit and be with people. This mass awakening isn't going to happen with a lightning bolt hitting Earth and unlocking all our DNA all at once. But note to future self, if that happens, I'll gladly eat my words. It's going to happen through you getting off your ass and sharing your truest gift and offering it to others. Now at this point, Kacper also shares another video of his called Circle of Embrace, and I will put the links to this below. And he says, watch my video, Circle of Embrace, to get a deeper look at how you can create your most powerful offering that helps others evolve without you becoming a soulless marketing cheeseball. Let me put it a bit more poetically before I sign off. You know that 98% of junk, inactive DNA, well, I don't think it's junk. I think it's scrambled. And you have a piece of that jigsaw puzzle to put things back into balance. You have a piece of the primordial code. You were born with it. Play your piece. Kacper. Now, the links to his website are below, and he does offer a subscribe link too, which I will be sharing because he publishes all his findings and he does take you on the journey if you wish to join him. So I hope you enjoyed that. I wish, and I'm glad and pleased and proud to share that from Kacper Postowski. So until the next time, blessings from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal Rose.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.